Thank you, gentlemen. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Daniel Rodriguez, Fordham Prep Class of 1996.
Hey, how's it going? um, so yeah, life is about the experience. Experienced a lot of crazy things in the last 20 years since I've left the prep. Last weekend, as a matter of fact, I was scouring the internet and I came upon Dr. Gelpi's presentation from last year's Sophomore Dream Day. And it was really funny because in that presentation, he's like, you know, in 30 years, you guys are going to come back here to tell your story. And he describes it using Joseph Campbell's Hero Cycle. Hero Cycle is basically like a story format where, you know, the hero goes off on a journey, adventure. He transforms from the experiences that he comes across. And then he comes back to tell the tales and the knowledge that he had gained over that course of time. Oh, sorry. Is that better? So, you know, in my case, I beat the curve a little bit. It wasn't 30 years, it was only 19. Still a very long time. But you know, never when I was your age, sitting where you guys are right now, did I think I would be, you know, where I was. And that's kind of the interesting thing about dreams. You know, when you think of a dream, it's kind of like a star in the sky, right? You see it, it guides you, it's your compass, but you don't know exactly which path you're going to take, and you don't know, you know, the adventures that you're about to embark on while you're going. And that was, you know, part of the situation, you know, for me. Like 3 years ago, you know, I'm in the prime of my life. You know, I'm 33 years old. I'm physically fit. I'm contracting at a major studio. At the time, I was working at Sony Pictures, and you know, all of a sudden, something happened. You know, a huge challenge came upon me. I started feeling uncomfortable, and I did what any logical person would do. Went to my doctor, and you know, I'm like, "Hey, doc, something's wrong." I point to my bum, and he's like, "Okay, well, I'll have to examine you." So I'll spare you the details. But you know, he had me on the table, examined me, and gave me a couple of a couple of interestings. And then he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to have you go do a scan." So did my scan. Actually, I'm gonna have to let me bring up my prezo a little. Yeah, actually, let's take down the wingsuits real quick. I'm gonna bring them over here so you guys, they're closer to you guys. 1 second. So I don't want this to completely be like a lecture type talk. At any point, if you guys have a question or if you get bored, just raise your hand, okay? And the best question and the worst question, I might let you guys take a picture in one of my wingsuits. So I encourage you to raise your hand if you have a question. So, let's see. So yeah, I go get the scan. I come back, the doctor's like, "Hey Dan, I got something to show you." I'm like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Doc, what is this?" He's like, "Well, I got good news and I got bad news." And the bad news is it's a tumor. I'm like, okay, well, what's the good news? The good news is we caught it early, so now all you have to do is 6 weeks of radiation, rest a month, then do a small surgical procedure, rest another month, and then 3 months of chemotherapy. I'm like, that's the good news. So, this is basically what I thought when I heard. He told me it was a tumor. And, the first thing that I think about is like, okay, like what am I supposed to do in this situation? I mean, what would you guys do in this situation? I mean, you really have like two choices. You can take that news and all of a sudden go through some self-loathing period. I mean, I did, doubt myself a little bit, wonder about where I was in life, or you can, fight back. So then I heard that news. It basically did what any normal person would do. I decided to go base jumping. The crazy thing about that period is I couldn't just quit my job. My doctor said that if I did absolutely nothing, then I could potentially live for 2 years. If I did some stuff, then I could live 5, 10 plus years. But your body, you never really know how your body is going to react when you're under that type of stress and duress with all those chemicals and stuff. So I decided at that particular point, cancer was an eye-opening experience. My life had almost accelerated. A lot of times we think about our dreams and we think about, oh, what are we going to be doing in like 10, 20 years sometimes? Oh, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to have like a big house. And I didn't have time to think about 10, 20 years. I had to like live my dreams literally right now. So I went up to my clients at the time with Sony Pictures, and I was like, hey guys, I'm going to go traveling. Now I'm still going to work. Still going to deliver. I was at the time a web developer for them. But I told them, you're not going to see my face a lot because I have this little health situation that I'm going through. And, what was their response? They were like, sure. And I was like, wow, why didn't I do this earlier? You mean I could have been traveling this whole time, jumping off of mountains? I could have been in this beautiful valley. This is actually in Norway, in one of the fjords. I didn't know. And it's like they weren't going to tell me that I can just work for them. But here I was with this situation, and I had to live my life right now, and, I took a chance. I didn't have anything to lose at that point. And that's the thing about, adults and teenagers. We have so many options, we have so many possibilities, but sometimes we don't realize all of the possibilities that we have. A lot of you guys are in here, and you're probably saying to yourself, I'm a minor. I don't have any money. I got to live at home. I got to do what my parents tell me to do every day. Well, I'm an adult. I got to go to my job. I got to do what my boss tells me to do every day. So, we're similar in that respect. We both have responsibilities. The only difference is that some adults know that we have these responsibilities. And, but that doesn't mean you guys can't do real things. My parents, when I was growing up, were really strict. And my sophomore year actually was one of my favorite years here at the prep. And the reason it was one of my favorite years here at the prep was because it was the first time that I was actually allowed to do a sport. When I came to the prep, I was really young. I was involved in that program that allows you to take a test at 7th grade. Then if you pass that test, you go into summer school. And if you pass that, you go straight from 7th to freshman year. So they really didn't know how I would react and how I would perform my first year. So they really wanted me just to focus on my grades. So when I became a sophomore rather, like the deal was made. Now is my first time that I can actually do a sport, and I had to, still perform at that time. And I was really amped about that. And I had to make sure, though, while I was doing that sport, that I was still like getting my A's and whatnot. And that was a challenge too, but because at the time, I had, just like cancer right now, one of my biggest challenges growing up was dealing with my father. My father was an alcoholic, and maybe life didn't turn out the way that he wanted it to. So sometimes he like took that out on me and my family or whatever. But it was a challenge at that time, and I could let two things happen. I could let that negativity affect me, or I could look at that challenge and go above it. So I still got A's. I still pushed myself really hard. I left the prep at the time. I left winning the city championships in wrestling, and then I took third in the state. And then I was fortunate enough to go to MIT. And you can't really be undeterred in your dreams. You have to keep pushing yourself. There are a lot of kids that actually, when I went to MIT, you're surrounded by, amazing minds out there. And kids your age, as a matter of fact, I met a couple of them. Actually, this is me at St. Dominic's coming in here. And another quick picture of me on the wrestling team. I'm like really small, really scrawny, So this kid right here, when I was a junior at MIT, was 14 years old. So basically the year of you guys right now. Imagine being your age going to college. And his parents, when he was really young, they pushed him and supported him. They wanted him to excel at his academics, and the school system didn't want him to do that. So they basically started homeschooling him. And him and his brother, 14 and 15, were freshmen at MIT. So this is like an example of a kid your age doing like amazing things, and you guys have that ability as well. You just have to really just kind of like focus and stuff on what you want to do. Here's another kid, Zach Sunderland. This kid basically saved up his money over the summers working, bought this boat, was one of the youngest kids to sail around the world, younger than you. We obviously know about kids who go to the Olympics that are teenagers. This kid right here, amazing story, sold his company to Yahoo for $30 million, But how do they do this, They each, like you, have dreams. So what differentiates them from, they're not whiz kids, they're just very focused. One of the biggest problems, I guess, like nowadays, is we have so many distractions in our life, And if we really kind of like take our time to really focus on what it is that dream is that we really wanted to do, and we can accomplish them, either at my age or at your age. And it starts with a belief. First you have to believe that you can attain something, right? And then that belief will basically envelop you, devour you. And those beliefs you constantly turn into thoughts that you're constantly thinking about, and then your thoughts become to words. You can't stop talking about it. And then eventually those words will become your actions become your habits become your values, and then your values will become your destiny. And that's really all dreams are, We want to accomplish something huge in life, so go after it right now. There's no reason why you can't.